Welcome, everyone, to Mindful Leadership Beyond Borders. This is Raj and Betska, the Guru Coach, and we are so thrilled today to have Tracy Borreson with us. She is all about authenticity. What an incredible topic. Wow. Okay. But especially in the digital space. So we've got lots to talk about today. And Tracy says that in a world where it's easy to hide and follow someone else's path, Tracy is encouraging all of us to find, own, and show up with our own personal brand leading the way. So to bring out our own individual authenticity, to first of all, to find it and then be it and show it. Yeah. Tracy, where do you live? I forget.
I live in Calgary, Alberta, Canada.
Oh, yes, right on. Yeah, another famous Canadian. What can I say? I live on Vancouver Island. Yeah, for sure. So, Tracy, the only way to start this topic is for you to explain to us what is authenticity.
So I have a definition that I use, which as far as I know, I have created. So when I speak about authenticity, what I mean is doing or saying what you would do or say when you want to do or say it.
Okay.
And so if you look up authenticity in the dictionary, you're going to find a whole bunch of other things, which honestly, I don't really resonate with, because I think there's a really important aspect of authenticity that is individualized. And there's no global average of what it looks like to be authentic. And in the digital space, I think it's very commonly interpreted that there's like a one thing that you can do that means that you're authentic. And that one thing is defined by someone else and how someone sees you. But to me, authenticity is an internal feeling, and it's about a self-measurement of how often am I showing up in alignment with myself? And nobody can define that except me.
Yes, so it's a very unique thing. Yeah, right on. So how can we create space for our own authenticity and that of others? That's probably two questions here, but where do
starting
you
with
start?
ourselves,
Yeah.
I always believe in starting with us first.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I always find very interesting is there are little ways where all of us bring our authenticity to the table in what society has deemed as safe ways. And so style is sometimes one of those. I always think it can be as simple as like what type of coffee mug you choose. So I'm a Disney fan. I have Minnie Mouse today. But these are what color pen you like to use, right? Like what color headphones you wear. And these are things where it feels easy for us to choose because we are very aware that it has no impact on another person. Right? The style of glasses I decide to wear is really me choosing what I like and what I think looks good on my face versus what someone else thinks about my glasses. And in our lives, we all have these things. Maybe it's the books that you choose. Maybe it's the artwork that you choose for your walls. Maybe it's the activities that you choose when you have free time. But there are a lot of different places where we practice being authentic. It just happens to be in the places where there's a very low risk. And so in order to build your authenticity muscle, it's about working up into what some of us would deem a riskier scenario in terms of showing up. One of the things that I come across lots, I do a lot of work in the digital arena. And so people will be like, well, I can't say that on LinkedIn. And I'm like, okay, why?
Why not?
Oh, because the people on LinkedIn won't like that. Okay, which people? The algorithm, like your clients. There's all of these, and most people haven't even explored it in this way, right? They just have this interpretation of what it looks like to be quote unquote professional, or any other word you want to put on a higher level of achievement. And we say that like, well, authenticity doesn't equal that, so I can't be that on LinkedIn. That's a self-imposed rule That's not a rule that LinkedIn created. It's not a rule the internet created. It's not a rule that I or Raj or Betska created. It's a rule individuals create for themselves and saying, I can't show up that way. So the next step after connecting to the fact that you do make authentic decisions, or can make authentic decisions, is to look at where are you not and what is the narrative that's associated with that. What is the, I can't do that because, what's the because? And is that because really true?
Well, there are certain proprieties, of course, that people have to follow. So on LinkedIn, you wouldn't show a video of you being half naked, for example. There are certain societal rules and business rules that you would follow. So I hear you there, but I can fully understand why people's authenticity is locked inside because they're afraid to take a risk.
Well, and like, I would even say, like, if you are a swimsuit model, then it might be authentic for you to post a picture of you in a swimsuit on LinkedIn. But then the reason you wouldn't is something that's imposed upon you from the external. Other people won't find this acceptable, so I can't do it. And I believe in coming from a place of love and compassion and caring and things like that. So there's but if you are coming from a place of love and acceptance and compassion and caring, who says you can't do that in a bathing suit? And that also doesn't mean that might make me uncomfortable. If my feed was filled with a bunch of people in bikinis, then, and I have my own version of like my physical well-being, then that might be harmful to my mindset. So I probably don't want to fill my feed with that. But that also doesn't mean that there might not be people who want to fill their feed with that. So this is where that balance between how do we create space for ourselves, but how do we create space for others? Because our version of authenticity is not the same. And even, I don't know how, there's like 800,000 users on LinkedIn. Like, none of us have the same exact definition of what feels good, what empowers us, what we like, what we don't like, what's fun, what's play, right? All of us have different definitions. And so if we are, it's very easy to let the external narrative control that. So it's an exercise and a commitment and a skill that you actually build to figure out what are the things I believe and who am I versus who is the world telling me I should be, because that would be a better version.
I hear you on that. And I think that's vitally important. So we want to find out what you do is you will spend a fair amount of time with someone, to find out what their business is, right? And then who are they really as an individual? Yeah.
And that's actually the bigger piece of it, is that business is business.
Yes.
And it's good. And I always say in my coaching, like, we will get there. The reason why you want to people practice authenticity for a variety of different reasons. So there's no one reason people want to bring more authenticity to their experience. And all of that is rooted in who you are. Even if we're going to extrapolate that to you being an entrepreneur, like, that is rooted in who you are. In order for you to build a sustainable business, you have to build it on you. If you're building it on what other people tell you to do, it can be productive for a little bit, but it's not going to be scalable. It's not going to be sustainable because you don't get to be you. And regardless of how much we want to brain our way out of our need to be us, the human experience is deeply tied into our need to be ourselves and to have some form of personal expression. And when you can tie those two things together, then we get that hockey stick chart, Canadian hockey stick reference. But where you're going up and there's no, the sky is the limit to infinity and beyond. Like, that's when you can build that, because you get to be in full expression of yourself without fear of someone judging you, which you actually can't control, right? You can be yourself, or you can pretend to be someone else, and people are going to judge you anyway. So
so it's about the branding is about being who you really are and finding your own uniqueness. So for example, my brand is Betska, the guru coach. I've been that for years, not because I gave it to myself, but our Indian students. I've been to India 8 times to teach teach people how to be life and executive coaches. And they started to call me the guru coach, and I was so uncomfortable with it. I just thought, oh, that's about going into ego. Yeah. And so, but they finally, after so many trips, and they kept referring me, only because our program is so unique. No one else has a coach training program. It's mind, body, spirit, and it has a big component on finding the real you inside. Yeah. So anyway, I had to accept it after a while, and so then it became my brand. It became my uniqueness. And so then I had to live up to that.
Well, this is the thing, right? It's very interesting because even when you say guru, everybody has their own definition of what that means.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
And so it's interesting that you say, I love this activity of finding what words people say about you that you can really connect to, or you're like, yeah, I like that. So I have people call me refreshing all the time. And I'm like, that, right? Because I'm not here to be another voice in the noise that's telling you all the same things that everybody else is saying. I want to provide unique perspectives. I have an innately curious nature that allows me to listen and learn faster than a lot of other people because they're just not listening and learning. And so it was something that I really was like, oh, okay, I am refreshing. And I never would have picked that word for me, but it was a word that so many people said that at some point you're like, okay, well, yeah, this is me, and this is just me being me. And so when you empower yourself to be the guru coach, or you empower yourself to be refreshing, then you have your unique way of doing that too. Like you said, Betska, I can live up to that. You have your own version of what it looks like to live up to that. I have my own version of what it looks like to be refreshing. And it's not about implementing. Every time I think of refreshing, I think of Mountain Dew. And I think there must have been some kind of branding campaign in the 90s where it was all about being refreshing. But like, those are the things that people take away. And when you build them your own way, then you can be like, okay, this is my way to be refreshing. This is my way to coach gurus.
Well, Tracy, let's take a pause for this segment, and we'll be back, folks, in a moment with part 2 with Tracy Borreson.
Thank you.
Stay tuned.
Maybach music.